October 22nd in Denver, 9 to 2. We also want to thank our sponsors. We can't do events like this without the financial support of our sponsors. You'll be hearing from some of them today, but please support, and they're all out and back, Rocky Mountain Title, Topflight Home Loans, Growthminded Talent Solutions, Elevations Global Solutions, Coordinator Team, Choice Home Warranty, and United Home Group. Let's welcome up MAPS Business Coaching CEO, Abe Shreve, with Choose Difficult.
All right, Abe.
Thank you. That is just the kind of intro that I want. And now this guy, it's Abe. How many were here last year? Oh, and you came back. Last year was an interesting time for me, and I chose to share it with you. And it has been a wonderful last 12 months. Today we're going to talk about some really important things. And my objective for you is that you are going to make some commitments, that you're going to lower your guard, that we will do this collectively, but really it comes down to the individual game we're playing, that we're going to lower our guard, gain some clarity, and get clear on what Monday morning looks like. That's Jay Papazon right there. Come on, Jay Papazon is here. I love you, Jay. My beautiful wife is here. Teresa, I want everyone to turn and just look at, she loves it when I call the attention. There was a moment not too long ago, and I didn't ask permission because she would have said no. We were with friends, and we love fine dining. We went to our favorite boutique Italian restaurant that we have in our location. It's called the Olive Garden, and they just serve the finest Italian cuisine. And we had our meal, and then we were standing in the parking lot talking to our friends, and then our friends took off, and there I am. And there's this moment where Teresa and I, we drove separate, and I see her there, and I'm just struck. We've been married for 29 years. So I see her, and I think she is so beautiful, stunning, and I just said it. Isn't it true that what we never say never gets heard? I said, honey, you are so beautiful. And Lord is my witness, she said, one of my eyes is bigger than the other one. And my first thought is, I'm being punked. You're messing with me. You're giving me material. What? And with the eye of a skilled woodworker, I got real close, awkwardly close. Remember, I just had Italian food. And I'm looking her in the eye, and I can't tell. They look exactly the same to me. And she went on, well, this, that. And I thought, honey, why do you do that? I just told you how beautiful you are, and your instinct is, no, but I got this eye thing happening, one's bigger than the other. A few days later, she says to me, honey, you're looking good. And I'm ashamed to tell you that I put my hand here where I feel like I'm not and said, well, I got a long way to go. And she said, and one of my eyes is bigger than the other one. I met recently with a dear friend of mine, one of my most trusted mentors, Brad Wilson. Brad prepared me to be able to work with someone like Gary Keller. He plays a really important role in my life. Today, Brad is the CEO of the 2034 Winter Olympics. And I get the chance to sit down with him maybe every other month for a couple hours, and we just talk about life and in business and all these wonderful things. I ran a construction company alongside Brad. I get going fast. I get excited. And I just learned so many things from him. And he said something to me that I think is really pertinent for us here today, for the topic that we're going to open with, and for all these announcements. For the people that you see going to other companies and they're blowing it up on social, here's a secret. What they don't do here, they will not do there. It's much less about how green the grass is on the other side. That's just where there's more BS. It really comes down to what will you and I do? And Brad, in this space that I get to work in, so often we talk as if you can't have a bad moment. It's all in your mind. It's mindset. Don't say but, and we never say should, and you got to believe and achieve and conceive and all the things. And can we just agree that sometimes, even under the best of circumstances, business can be really hard? Is that all right? Do we erode the future success that we seek if we just acknowledge that there are days business is difficult? Who's ever looked at the checker at Walmart and thought, she looks really happy doing this? Anybody felt that? Brad said to me, and in my mind, Brad is like Gary. He is one of the most accomplished businessmen I've ever known. I would consider him the elite of the elite performers in life. And he said, Abe, I have learned that one of the markers of a really great partner in business is that all of the very best people have some form of imposter syndrome. There's some part of them, and he says, and when I meet people and there's no part of that doesn't exist there, I am weary of them. Isn't that interesting? What this means for you and I today is we can just put the expectation that we hope that others may have of us, we're going to put all that on the shelf. We're only going to dive in to how you and I break through each important step on our way to accomplishing really difficult things. Is that cool? Are you good? If we just don't care for the next while what anybody else thinks, and we just focus on how to become the best version of who we can be. Is that cool? Okay, up here somewhere is a clicker. Oh, here it is. I need your help. I have a tendency to leave with these. I have a few really nice ones, but they belong to a system like that, so I actually can't use them. But I still got them. I won't leave. Kelly would tackle me on the way out. That's El Cap in Yosemite. You guys know some of my climbing stories, and for those of you that don't, all of my life, I have had something inside me that just knew I had another level of life to achieve and accomplish. And I've spent 30 years of my adult life climbing rocks. How are you? I've traveled all over the world, but in Yosemite, California is the most beautiful of the rocks. And it's called El Capitan. And a lot of my personal growth goes to overcoming that rock. I'm going to share some stories today about climbing that particular rock. Who's seen El Cap? Hand over your heart, right? Raise your hand if when you were looking at it, you thought, all I want to do is go to the edge of that and start climbing it. I've got a few of my people in here. We weren't meant for comfort. Comfort doesn't grow us. But we live in this world, we live in a world where we think if we're uncomfortable, that's somehow unhealthy, which flies in the face of everything that we know. Take the human body, for example. If I get a flu shot, what are they putting in me? The flu, so that my body can react to that and can grow antibodies and can fight against it. We were not meant to live in comfort, and we have so much comfort around. There's a great book called The Comfort Crisis, and I'm not going to spend my time here, but we weren't meant to spend all of our time seeking and living in comfort. And we know that, don't we? We're realtors, and we call for sale by owners who don't have souls. And we do difficult every day, right? At least we talk about it. So back in 2020, COVID hit at the beginning of that year, and you guys had the year of your lives. Isn't it true? I'm not talking about with COVID and with the country and our neighbors and everything, but real estate did pretty well. From my view, everyone here was sleeping in a bed of Benjamins every night. But 9 years ago, one of the great honors of my life is that our combined hero, Gary Keller, approached me and said, I want to start a business coaching business. I want to take what we've learned coaching these incredible real estate performers out into the general world of business. And we have done that. That's been my whole focus for the last 9 years. And so our clients were not having the same experience. We have restaurant owners and people that own medical clinics. We have people that own fitness studios and gyms. And COVID was not the same for them. And there were a lot of really difficult decisions to be made, and we had an amazing team at the time. And so we got to the end of 2020, and I was sick of it. I was fed up, and I wanted us to move out of the mindset of we're surviving this to the mindset of we're thriving, we're making this happen. And I looked around for themes, and I love the story of John F. Kennedy and what he said at Rice University back in, I believe, 1962, when he was giving a speech. He said, we choose to go to the moon. Now, bear in mind, if we go back to that time, we were in a race with the Russians for just about everything, right? Today, when we talk about Russia and we see that our government and the Russian government will get together, we talk about each other, it's different. When you explain to your children what the Cold War was and Red Dawn and Rocky III, we knew our experience with Russia was different, right? It was a race to put a man on the moon. And to me, if there's nothing else you hear today, that gets inside of you and knocks your limiting beliefs loose, I want it to be this. We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard. Because that goal will serve to organize and measure the best of our energies and skills. Because that challenge is one that we are willing to accept, one we are unwilling to postpone, and one which we intend to win, and the others too. Oh, I get the chills. Now, we did that. We landed on the moon. Now, some of you here, if you're wondering or you don't believe that happened, that's another conference. It's at the Super 8 Motel back down the canyon. Listen to this. We choose this, not because it's easy, but because they are hard. This goal will serve to organize and measure the best of our energies and skills. I started a podcast back then, and I was trying to figure out what we would call it, and I chose Choose Hard as a theme for the company. We're gonna have shirts made, and we all need that friend that goes to the internet and checks first. Charlotte Savoy said, we cannot say choose hard. I just need you to just understand it. Choose Difficult became the title of the theme. Get your mind out of the gutter so Jays can float by. Just kidding, Jay. I was on a call with Gary Keller, and I was wearing a shirt that said Choose Difficult. I had all these names for the podcast, and he said, that's the name right there. It's on your shirt. Wouldn't you agree with me that one of Gary's great gifts is taking things that feel complex and making them simple? And I have a gift of taking simple things and making them much more complex. We need these Garys. I love the human doctrine behind this. You and I, every one of us, I can say this with perfect certainty, have something more in us. And there are times, and I'm willing to bet that there are those that feel this now, there are times we know that we have more, we still know how to unlock it. And I'm gonna give you a simple formula that we've discovered through our experience of working with these various business owners and CEOs, but also the people that I've met on the Choose Difficult journey. These are people, we have professional athletes, we have elite military performers, we have people whose story you have never heard before and you will never forget. And we've identified a pattern, a cycle, as it were. We call it the Choose Difficult cycle. And this is what it looks like when you don't know how to make a slide to do that, but you want it. And it's 10:30, and you haven't got your slides to Kelly, and you know she's got a drone strike ordered for you and just has to hit one button. You draw it out. I'm sorry, Kelly. I'm going to walk you through these 5 steps of the cycle. The moment of choice, the fight for clarity, the inner battle, the rewarding grind, and the breakthrough. Now, some here may be familiar with the hero's journey. It's awesome. I first read about that by the great Russell Brunson of ClickFunnels. I'm now part of a private mastermind that Russell Brunson holds, and he's really insightful. The hero's journey was really what unlocked the Star Wars story. And this is a little different. So if you think you know, stay with me. We're going to walk through this. Back in the Holocaust, there's an incredible man named Viktor Frankl. Viktor Frankl was a contemporary of Sigmund Freud, and he is the father of logotherapy, and which is really, I mean, it's the distant origination point for what we would call today the positive psychology movement, the study of what is right with us, not just what is wrong with us. And Viktor Frankl was taken up in Nazi Germany. He was separated from his wife and daughter. He would never see them again. And when he was in Auschwitz, the death camp, the worst of them all, they were liberated. Who's read Man's Search for Meaning? Who here has read that? Oh, I have an assignment. Who will read it? Who will read Man's Search for Meaning? Who will read Man's Search for Meaning? Who will read I'm trying to help you out here. I'd encourage you to read it. It's the only book I've read in one sitting, cover to cover. I had the flu, and then I got better, and I could climb again. But I read it cover to cover. It's really amazing. And this is what he says when we talk about choice. Everything can be taken from a man but one thing, the last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any set of circumstances, to choose one's own way. And there were always choices to make. Every day, every hour, offered the opportunity to make a decision which determined whether you would or would not submit to those powers which threaten to rob you of your very self, your inner freedom, which determined whether or not you became the plaything to circumstances. Does it say it over there? Look what we've done. Circumstances, renouncing freedom, and other stuff. Viktor Frankl had this ability because of his psychiatric training to observe his own life as if he were a third party. And that was how he made it through. And when you read the book Man's Search for Meaning, that's exactly what the portrayal is. It's someone that is in the worst conceivable circumstances and yet has made this decision that he will observe his life as if it is a third party. He's observing. There's a question, and I'll mention it here later. There's a question that I ask myself with frequency when facing a difficult moment. What will I name this chapter? And inside of that question lives the future. Right? It's my acknowledgement that this is a really difficult moment, and there will come a day that I look back and catalog the learning. What will I name this chapter? I got that from him. The moment of choice, if you look right up here at me right now, in my mind, as a visual person, I see this moment of choice as something significant. I'm facing the opportunity to choose something that could change me forever. And there are moments that we make the choice, and there are times that the choice makes us. The choice will find us. I want to give you two examples of this. Now, just down the road from you in Colorado Springs. Where are my Colorado Springs peeps? All right, Jimmy Hinsky just moved to Colorado Springs. You guys have a certified Mo will hear it. You guys have an amazing guy that just moved to Colorado Springs. Jimmy spent 20 years with the SEAL teams, and most of that with a Naval Special Warfare Development Group. Does anyone know what that is? That's SEAL Team 6. Jimmy told me he's not going to say SEAL Team 6 because Hollywood's taken that over, and it's disrespectful to the others who wear the Triton. Every SEAL is important. And I said, that's amazing. I'm going to still say SEAL Team 6. Are we cool with that? He's like, say what you want. When SEALs are being selected, it's not a comfortable experience. Who here is familiar with BUD/S and with Hell Week and what the SEALs do? You've seen the movies, you've heard about it? For those that don't, basically what they try and do is kill the SEALs. What it seems like. They run around and they have to carry these logs, and they're really trying to break these guys. They have just been through 4 weeks of intense classroom learning, and then they put them through these physically just the most treacherous type of training. They are sleep deprived. They have to run in the ocean, then they run out, and then they have to roll in the sand. And just over and over, they're trying to break them. And on the wall, who can tell me what hangs on the wall for anyone who wants to quit? There's a bell. And there are many that look at the bell. And that bell to them is like a person on a very strict diet looking at an open fridge door full of all their favorite foods, saying, come here, and we will spoon and be happy together. Come and do it. Tap out, because if they ring the bell, they're free. They're not shamed. They don't shame them. Quitter. They're yelling at him the whole time. You don't want to do this? Go ring the bell. Jimmy saw something different. He told me when he looks at the bell, what he realizes is that I can quit anytime I want. So this thing I'm going through is my choice. I own it. The choice gives him staying power. Do you see that? There's not a soul in here that couldn't quit real estate today and just go get a job. And there's no shame in that. We need people that have jobs. What I'm asking you to understand is, if it feels a little difficult, the fact that the choice is yours means that you get to pick how far into this you want to go or not. And I love when he said that. Later, Jimmy would be part of a really well-known rescue. Many years ago, there was an American journalist named Jessica Lynch. Does anyone remember that rescue? Hearing about that? Scott, brother. Jimmy was the lead SEAL in that rescue, and he said, all I kept saying, he said, normally we come in the middle of the night in our ninja booties, and when everyone wakes up, all the bad guys are gone. But this had multiple facets of the U.S. military involved, and he said we rolled in Abrams tanks. And I was the first one to pop my head out as the commanding SEAL, and he said all I wanted was to make sure my head didn't get shot off. And I said, did you think it could? And he said, I thought it would. Then why'd you do it? My team needed me to do it. Isn't that powerful? And so now in Colorado Springs, Jimmy has a business called Valhalla's Forge, and they build memorabilia for the families of fallen service members. And they build things specific. He told me that the ones that mean the most to him are those that have taken their own life. And he says it becomes our mission to put their life in a shadow box so that we can return dignity to them and their family. That's God's work, don't you think? Jimmy is someone that has always chosen difficult, didn't even know there was another way to do it. When the moment was there, he saw the choice itself as giving him strength and power. I'm asking you to look at it like that. We don't have to do the thing we're doing that's difficult. The fact that we choose to do it means there's more in us than we realize. Fair enough? Now, sometimes it's us saying, I want this, and I'm going to choose to do it, and I'm going to do whatever it takes. And sometimes life just comes. Does anyone here know a gentleman named Terry Gurno? Have you met Terry, some of you? Nobody? Terry's one of my closest friends. I had reached out early in my journey with Gary in MAPS Business Coaching. I was looking for a coach, and I asked Terry, would he coach me? And I wanted to fly him in to spend a couple days with me, and he couldn't come the day that I wanted him to come because he was doing an executive seminar for the executive team at Boeing. And I said, priorities, man, come on. I did meet with him, and I was able to talk him into coming and coaching all of us, and he was our director of coaching for a lot of years. He's an amazing guy. He has a really cool story about doing the Ironman, and he was out for a walk, and he said, I couldn't catch my breath, and I couldn't get my heart rate up. Now, how many of you, when you go running, you can't get your heart rate down? He had the other problem. And he said his wife took him in, and they ran a bunch of tests, and the doctor came and said, you have a deformity on the bottom of your heart. But the cool thing here, Terry, is that we don't normally find this. You just die. You just have an instant heart attack and die because you're only operating about 20% of your heart's capacity. So within 24 hours, he had a quintuple bypass surgery. Isn't that amazing? We went up and saw him, and I snuck him in ice cream, Halo Top. It was my version of taking a jailmate a file. We all know people that have been through difficult physical things, but what is so fascinating as a study of people choosing to see things the right way is that they're supposed to test you to see if you're allergic to the blood thinners. If you're allergic to the blood thinner, it won't thin your blood, it will clot your blood. And though I went to public school, if I carry the one, that's not good for someone that just had heart surgery. True? They didn't check for allergies. He was in the cardiac rehab center, and he code blued. They lost him. They hit him with the panels. They rushed him back into surgery. They said that they had to go in and put new stents in the bypasses. This is brand new. This is fresh. And they said, Terry, it's a 50-50 chance that we can do this here. We're going to try, but if we're unable to do it, we have to live flight you to Spokane, and there will be a team waiting. So he goes to sleep, wakes up. They were able to do it. So when I saw him, I said, aren't you mad? It's kind of a big deal, isn't it? Can you imagine someone doing that to your loved one? Standard that we test for allergies. We didn't do that, and he almost died. Now we've had to open him up and do all this. Are you mad at him? How could I be mad, Abe? They saved my life. That's how Terry saw it. He would go on 4 months later to be diagnosed with stage 4 colon cancer. I know. My wife and I have theater tickets because I am deeply cultured, and she just comes because of I'm so cultured. And we were in Moulin Rouge, which everyone should take their children to. Terry had been running tests over the last number of weeks, and we thought that this would be the day that we would find out what was going on with him because he had some stomach pains, and he was only 4 months out of his last heart surgery, and one of my dearest friends in all the world, Charlotte Savoy, sends a text, and I see it at intermission when I turn on the phone, and it says, it's cancer. Listen, don't do that to your friends. They turn into a mess. It's embarrassing. Absolutely lost it, right, Trace? I couldn't even think. I don't even know what else happened the rest of that show. All I thought about is my friend and his family and stage 4 and just that. And when we left, we got 3 minutes into the drive home and I pulled over and booked a flight and I was there by 8 o'clock the next morning. I believe in really difficult times your friends show up. They show up, they come in person. And I went and saw Terry. And do you know what he said? I'm grateful for these people that found this. Did you know I can live without this much of my colon? And it is on and on. Kidney cancer, liver cancer. And right now, we are waiting for test results as those markers that were looking so good have started to decline. Terry, how you feeling? God loves me. People are good. It's easy to tell someone, you just got to think positive when life is good. One of the principles in Bold, I have the great honor of traveling the country and teaching this new Bold, and I don't know who here has been through the new Bold. I just want you to know this. This is my words, Jay. If I got this wrong, tell me later, not in front of everyone. I believe that what has happened, Gary has done what Gary normally does, Jay and the whole team. They've gotten the best of the best together to say, what are you doing? And to break down what they're doing. But also what I believe is that at this time in his career, where he, in my opinion, is the sharpest and the most willing to fight for us, Gary has put together what I believe he learned going from millionaire to billionaire. So one of the principles is happiness is a choice, and it's easy to say that when you're happy. When it matters is when you're not. And this is a person that has gone through horrific things. So you and I have a choice. And I'm asking you, even if you feel like the choice, you didn't pursue it, no matter what we're facing, there comes a moment that we're standing at the line and we get a choice how we're going to walk through it. The moment of choice is critical because we don't step over it and step back. We step into it. And there's a next appropriate phase. I call it the fight for clarity. I believe that sometimes we say you just need to get clarity. Just. In our family, Therese, that's a 4-letter word, isn't it? I was just. I'm going to wave my hand and hex all of you. And when you hear someone say just, your gag reflex, it's going to go. Just get clarity like it's easy. Like that's easy. If that was easy, then everyone would just walk around in perfect clarity every day. But my experience has been that many of us will not pay the price prior to launching an initiative. We won't pay the price to plan it and to get ready. Jay and Gary wrote one of the best books, I believe, one of the best books in personal development ever, The One Thing, and it answers the question, how do we do it? And I'll leave that to Jay and others to talk about that. What I want you to know is you and I are not at a shortage of resources or people to help us. Most of us just don't understand how powerful and important the fight for clarity is. I call it a fight because it's not one and done. I don't make a GPS and that's it. Now let's just set it and forget it, and I'll never be unclear again. I learned a long time ago that one of the most lonely moments in business is Monday morning when you're uncertain what to do. So we want to take the time to plan, and I'm a coach, so I think in terms of great questions. Terry taught me that the right question asked at the right time will change your life. I'm asking you to consider the questions I ask myself when I'm seeking for clarity. What will success look like? And I'll do everything in my power to describe it. Who will help you? And this is really important. How will you teach them? I can come to you and say, I'm doing this. Will you help me? And you might be willing to say, yeah, I'll help you. But that doesn't mean you know how. How much better if I say, okay, here's how you can do it. I'm going to check in. I'm looking for this. In the difficult moment when I reach out, you don't have to do anything. Just when you can, text me back and give me some encouragement. We teach people. We don't ask them and then sit and hope that they give us what we need in the moment. Most of us are perfect. We have a perfect record at falling short of expectations that were never communicated. If they really cared, they'd know what I was thinking. Don't do it. We teach them. And then what are your favorite comfort fires? Comfort fires are the socially acceptable reasons and excuses that we love. They're fires we light so that instead of doing our most important work, we can go put these out. I would do that, but I have a client in 5 days that has a home inspection in 4 days, and it's kind of messy, and they're really upset. So I have to go to the pickleball court. Or I have to do an email. I mean, we'll find a million things to insert, and I'm obviously having some fun with it, but all of us have comfort fires. I'm asking you to name them. Public enemy, number 1, number 2, just name them. Here's a great comfort fire. I have to build my list before I start lead generating. Yeah, it's a comfort fire now when that should have been done, when that could have been done yesterday, such that when I walk in today, I have all of my mental and emotional resources intact and I can just go. So we want to name those things so that when they show up, they have no power over us. The fight for clarity. That is Hans Florine. We learned later that for Instagram, you're supposed to take the picture from above. Now, for me, this is quite iconic. When I decided that I wanted to climb El Cap in under 24 hours, it scared me. Most parties take 3 to 5 days. I was not the person that could do this. And I have learned in this life that it is all about who helps. Who's the coach? Hans, for me, was the right coach. The problem is he's the most well-known person in our sport. He's one of the most accomplished outdoor athletes of all time. So I found him on Facebook and sent him a message. And he went and looked at my Facebook page. And thankfully that day, I'd put out a business video, and he liked it because he's a business guy. And so he reached back out, and we had a 2-hour conversation. And Wendy, I hope this is okay, but I almost peed down both legs when this guy called me. It was the most exciting time. And in the process of that, I said, I'm looking for some guidance on how to train for this. I've never trained for this. And he said, I have this spreadsheet, and I have this way. He said, spreadsheet. You had me at spreadsheet. I said, I want to hire you to be my coach. And he said, how about this? We'll just switch. I'll coach you on climbing, and you coach me on business. And I said, I can't do that. I have to pay you, and it has to be a minimum of $1,000 a month. And we cannot be friends for 6 months. And he said, I get that. And about 4 months in, Jay, he said, can we be friends yet? Yeah. Do you know why? I didn't need a friend. I needed Hans freaking Florine, the guy that was on the cover of Rock and Ice magazine breaking the speed record on El Cap. That's who I needed. My friend will let me off the hook. And this is me engineering in my fight for clarity. Who will meet me at the front line of that initiative and help hold me to it? I will say this. We preach a lot about coaching. And do you know why we preach a lot about coaching? Because the best of the best all answer the question, who will meet me at the front line of this initiative every week, help me gain clarity, and help me move forward? That's why. Okay, the inner battle. We move to the inner battle, and this is where the voice in my head, I start wondering if it's bothering other people. It gets so loud. This is when I think back to my friend Brad, who has accomplished so much, who now is running an organization with over 60,000 employees in it worldwide. And he says, Abe, sometimes I have imposter syndrome, and I've learned that's a marker for people that can do really great things. I want you to write down just a couple things when it comes to the inner battle. Number one, it's not a crisis until it's a crisis. Let's keep perspective. Do you think in the moment that Terry was going through all of that, do you think he'd get wrapped around the axle if a seller asked him to withdraw the listing? Nope. Terry had really great perspective. I want to live. It's not a crisis until it's a crisis. We all have those moments in life that we can look back and say, I never want to go through that again. But I would for what I gained. And here's what I learned. Scott, you guys run one of the largest organizations in our whole company. I believe you told me at the end of August, let me get this right, you guys were number 4 in the entire company for production, number 2 in the entire company for volume. I didn't get it right. All awesome. It's a big company. We lead every marker in the whole industry. So that's amazing. So, am I speaking truth here? It's not a crisis until it's a crisis? Yeah. Leaders have to make peace with the fact that every day there's a new problem to solve. And do you know what that means? It's just a problem we can solve. Got to fit the rest of this in under 10 minutes. Kelly has a trained police canine she's going to release if I'm not done on time. So I'm going to make sure I'm done. There'll always be someone telling you can't do what you're doing while you're doing it. Just take that as a sign that you're doing the right things. And I want you to practice in your mind what it looks like. What does it look like? And start getting clear on what it will mean when the people that would say to you, why would you ever do that? I would never do that. If you hear those words, what will it mean to them when they see you doing it? And number 2, just take that as evidence that you're onto something great. If the average person who's chosen to live their life in an average way wouldn't do what you want, That's perfect. Great. I don't want their life. Not to be mean or to be rude, but you and I are on a different path. Can we agree to that? The rewarding grind. I like the oxymoron in this. Most great initiatives will always take us longer than we think. Remember, Gary told me right in the very beginning, Abe, it'll take you 5 to 7 years. And I thought, you don't know me. Because if you did, you would say 7 to 10 years, I think, really. It always takes longer. And it isn't the arrival point. It's what we gain in the journey along the way. It's important to make peace with the principle of delayed gratification. It's important to celebrate milestones along the way. And it's really critical to make peace with failure. And I want to talk to you, I'm going to give you a model for failure that we teach in the Millionaire Business Network. I'm more than happy to share these slides with Kelly and team. And so, I may go faster than you can write, and that's okay. I'll just make sure that you guys have the slides. I want you to consider this as a possible definition for failure. It's an outcome other than the one you planned on. Failure is simply an outcome other than the one that you planned on. I had a big goal. The third time I ever went up El Cap was the first time I didn't climb it with Hans. Me and another guy. We wanted to do it in under 24 hours. It's a long story and a good story, and I'll tell you another day. But we failed at it. I pulled over the edge of that rock just over 27 hours, and I felt all the trappings of I didn't do it. I failed. My phone had died. We got down, and search and rescue had been called because we were late. Most parties take 3 to 5 days. We screwed it up and did it in 27 hours. I climbed through the whole night. My job was to climb the second half, lead the second half. I called my wife as soon as my phone charged back up, and then I called Hans. How did it go? Complete failure. What do you mean? We didn't make it. It was over 27 hours. Silence. 1% of 1% of the world's climbing population will ever get to say they climbed El Cap in one push. And that fast, I went from feeling like a failure to realizing I have done something that very few people will ever do in their whole life, and that for me, I didn't even know it was possible 1 year ago. And because it didn't go just the way I'd planned, I think I've failed in some negative way. The guy that I became and my climbing abilities in that year went up by 10x. I've since gone back and done it faster than that. I've done it in 8 hours and 15 minutes. But I don't think I'd do that 8 hours run if I don't have that 27-hour experience. You and I at all times are becoming the person that will tell the story about what we went through and what we gained. I call it the ironic blessing. The ironic blessing is that you and I only gain the wisdom that we could have used in that moment after the moment has passed. Did you get that? Too early? As your Red Bull hit? So let me just give you some ways I'm going to give you a quick little formula. I'm going to come back to that one. I call it the failure 4 because I couldn't think of a better name, but I'm wholly open if you've got one. Name it, tame it, reframe it, and fail again fast. Simply put, I want you to consider what is the failure. Name it, isolate it, and name it. In the absence of this, we will feel like all is failing. If you have experienced that, something didn't go right and it felt heavy, and you felt that everything in life was falling apart, stand up. Stand up if you've ever felt that way. I want to see it. Well, I don't know what's wrong with you people. All right, have a seat. So we want to isolate it because not everything in life is failing. Is it a failure of action? Did we have a plan and we didn't do the steps? Is it a failure of execution? Is it a failure of vision? Did we think we were clear and once we did it, we realized we're not quite clear? Is it a failure of adaptation? Are we running last year's plays and there's a way that we could adjust that would bring us greater success? Is it a failure of persistence? Are we just not doing this long enough? By the way, Wendy, when all these companies merge, they're going to run a big campaign and say, we're the best place in the world. And we will still outperform them. It doesn't come down to where do I go where people will do it all for me. I would ask you, in your goals and in your activities, are you unyieldingly persistent? And if you can say yes and be honest about it, it doesn't matter who else is saying that they have a better offer. Because you have control of your business and you control your outcomes. So you may as well be at the place that will treat you the best with the best culture. It's about what will you do, not what they will do for you. Does everyone get that? I'm soapbox, but I'll leave it. All right, that was weak. Come on. Failure of integrity. Failure of communication. Tame it is about keep it into perspective. I love the third and fourth question the best. What am I making this mean? And what else could it mean? What else could it mean? What am I making this mean? I'm making it mean that I never get this right. What else could it mean? It could mean that this is hard, I've never done it before. What else could it mean? It could mean that I'm growing and that do you see what happens when we start to explore? What else? And what else? And what else? We learn other options. Then frame it as about knowing what we now know. What is the thing to go do? Let's make the adjustment and then we're just gonna go do it. What's the next right step? And then just go fail again. I will promise you, with a perfect track record of success in this promise, every plan we make, by the definition of failure is an outcome other than the one you plan on. Every initiative in your life, you will fail at it. Thank the Lord. It's the only way to learn what we need to know to go back and adjust and move forward. And here are some tools that you can use, especially isolate it and name it. Don't let it be this big unknown vortex it isn't. And then finally, there's a breakthrough, and so many of us miss this. We miss the breakthrough because we get so focused on either the next moment of choice. But if we won't stop and take a look at our lives and where we've been and how we're doing, we don't realize that we are becoming the person that we wanted to become all those years ago. And I realize for some in here, you may feel like that day will never come. And some in here are like, I was born that person. What I will tell you is we just become, through this cycle, the next better version. What my desire in sharing this cycle with you and these steps, this idea of the moment of choice and fight for clarity and then winning the inner battle and the rewarding grind and then celebrating the breakthrough, my desire is that you might look at what's going on in your life and in your business, look at the cycle and be able to name where in the cycle you are. And if it's the inner battle and the voice in your head is saying, it's a bad market and we can't do it and it's too hard, go back to fight for clarity. Just go back to the prior step and get clear. Enroll people, teach them how to help you and step forward again. I want to share with you in closing an experience I had that represents this moment of breakthrough. We had launched the Millionaire Business Network. It is just barely starting to gain steam. It has been excruciating to create something that doesn't really exist out there like this and to run with it. We have some of our chapter leaders here. I remember I wasn't even uncertain how to explain it to someone without taking an hour and a half. By the way, if you have to take an hour and a half, they're not interested. Just this grind. We had one day in particular where somebody had left KW and they're closing down their chapter, and I was sitting in my office and just kind of bathing in the failure. And a gentleman that worked for me at the time named Logan came in and said, hey, we just got another sign up. We just passed 400 members of the Millionaire Business Network. I would have stood before judge and jury and told you that every metric in our company was completely failing. That's all I've been focused on. Where are we losing? Where are we losing? And he walks in and says, I don't know if you remember, but at the beginning of the year, we wanted to get past 400. We just did that. We have a couple months left. These are the moments to stop and say, what have we done? I get it. We're going to talk about what we haven't done, but let's talk about what we've done. You guys, I hope you will take this and implement this in your life. I hope you'll share it with others. We've been working on writing a book about this. I've got a great writing partner. We believe that we'll have that ready to come out at the beginning of next year. I would love to stay in touch with you. And if you want to scan that, I'd send out a little newsletter and we'll let you know when the book is coming through. The next 6 months and 8 months, they're going to come and go regardless. They're going to come and go regardless. But right now, we have the decision of saying what we want to happen when that is over. And my challenge to you is to drop your guard, go all in, fail fast and furious, and come out the next 6 months the person that you know you can be and that we know you can be. Thank you.